Hello everyone. I guess I am online now. Thank you all for joining the live stream. And well, possibly last Sunday live stream on main YouTube channel. For good. Maybe next year things will change and I will resume live streams, but not for now. And well, let's go. Hello everyone. Hello. Once again, thank you for finding time to join the live stream. And well, I guess we can do like in previous Sunday. I will share with you news that I selected, just a few news, short summary, and then we can go through conversation. I will try to answer on the questions that I see, and also you, dear friends, can have a chat between each other in real time. This is one of the reasons why I was thinking that Sunday live streams may be useful for our community, because of course we all are quite active in the comment sections, but you know, chat does gives you know, additional opportunity to have a conversation in real time with members of our community. And well, let's go through news, I guess, first of all. And how many of us? 35 of us on the stream right now. Maybe in a few minutes time more members of our community will join the stream. And first of all, I want to share with you one of the major developments in Russia today, which is that Russia's ruling party backs Putin's presidential bid, which is of course not surprising. Today, United Russia Party had a huge conference. Many leaders of party and public figures did participate in this event, and of course, as it was expected, Putin did receive full support of the party, although he may run as an independent. But he will have a backing of ruling party, which is well, important of course, although without any backing, Putin, because of his huge rating, he will manage to receive a vast majority of votes. That's for sure. So, well, it's official now. Just a few days ago, Putin was named as a candidate by as an independent candidate by NGOs, different NGOs, and today he received backing of ruling party. Presidential elections will take place from 15th to 17th of March 2024. Elections will be held for 3 days. Few days ago, Central Election Committee did make decision based on recommendations of Defense Ministry and FSB, Security Service, that elections will be held in new regions also. Security services will guarantee that voters will be secure and elections will be organized in safe manner, which is also important, of course. And well, my prediction is that Putin will receive at least 60-65% of the votes, probably more, but at least 60-65% of the votes for sure. So yes, that's been said. Let's talk about some news now from about Ukraine and also about Middle East. Gladkov, governor of Belgorod region, did share information that today Ukrainian forces were almost all day shelling several settlements in the Belgorod region, and some Telegram channels even reported that Ukrainian DRG, about 20 militants, did try to cross border from Kharkov region to Belgorod region, and Russian forces did notice movement of this DRG early on, and clashes did take place between Russian security forces and Ukrainian DRG, and I guess if not today, tomorrow we will receive from Russian security services additional information. I'm quite sure this DRG will be neutralized, and if they manage to escape back into Kiev controlled territory, some of them at least will survive. Rest of them will be neutralized or captured. Let's see what information will be shared to public tomorrow. Also, TASS news agency is reporting that Russian armed forces dealt significant blow to Ukrainian neo-Nazi Azov unit in forestry of Serebryanka forestry, and as a result of clashes, this is Krasny Liman direction, and as a result of clashes, Ukrainian side in this area lost about 100 military personnel killed and wounded, and significant number of them probably were exactly from this neo-Nazi formation Azov, that's usually used by Kiev regime as a blocking detachment unit, and together with mercenaries, foreign mercenaries. And also TASS news agency is reporting that according to Russian Defense Ministry, during the previous 24 hours, Russian air defense systems managed to shut down 2 MiG-29 fighter jets of Ukrainian Air Force and also 1 Su-25 attack plane, and 91 different type of drones were also neutralized. When it comes to drones, we may not be surprised because drones are actively used by both sides, but when it comes to planes, well, I guess all of us are surprised every time we hear that additional planes were shut down of Ukrainian Air Force. I wonder how many planes they really have left. One of the members of our community did ask me some time ago to make separate video exactly on this topic about Air Force of Ukraine and from which countries Kiev regime might receive the MiG-29s and Su-25s. And I'm definitely gonna make a separate video on this topic for Patreon community. And well, I can share now information that I already know. MiG-29s were in service, in active service of practically all Central and Eastern European countries that were a part of Warsaw Pact during the Soviet era, and we are talking about dozens and dozens of MiG-29s. Just Germany, East Germany had scores of MiG-29s in service, and once East and West Germanies did reunite, United Germany for next at least 2 decades were actively using MiG-29s in its air force, and I guess all of those MiG-29s have been transferred to Kiev regime. So one of the big suppliers of MiG-29 definitely was Germany, I believe. Also Poland had at least few dozens of MiG-29s, and I guess all of them that were capable to fly have been transferred at this point to Kiev regime. Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, they all had MiG-29s, I believe, in the Air Force, and probably all of them sent it to Kiev regime. Hungary probably did have MiG-29s in active service, but because Budapest was from very beginning agitating for peace negotiations, peace talks, and for the escalation, I'm quite sure no Hungarian planes ever were, Soviet era planes ever were transferred to Kiev regime, not MiG-29s, not Su-25s. And when I say MiG-29, very same countries most likely did have the Su-25s also. I'm going to research this topic of Su-25s in more detail before I record the video for a Patreon, but I'm quite sure majority of Warsaw Pact countries had Su-25s also, attack planes. And worldwide, dear friends, MiG-29s and Su-25s were one of the best sellers of Soviet aero industry, military industrial complex, and hundreds of them were sold worldwide, from Middle East to African nations, Southeast Asia. Some countries in Southeast Asia did had the MiG-29s and possibly Su-25s also. For example, let's say Vietnam. I'm quite sure Vietnam had MiG-29s, and I would not be surprised if Vietnamese government sold MiG-29s not directly to Kiev regime, but to some third party first, and then eventually these planes end up in hands of Kiev regime. That's possibility also. And well, that's why according to Russian Defense Ministry, over 500 planes of Ukrainian Air Force were already destroyed. Several hundred planes Kiev regime had during the start of special military operation, and several hundred planes probably was delivered, transferred to Kiev regime after special military operation began, both MiG-29s and Su-25s. And at this point, it's definitely hard to tell how many of these planes, or how many planes in general, combat planes in general, Kiev regime has left. Unfortunately, very rare occasions when Russian Defense Ministry is reporting about destruction of Ukraine's Su-24 fighter bombers, frontline bombers basically, because as an air-to-air fight, fighters, Su-24s are lacking capability significantly. They are bombers first and foremost, and unfortunately there were very few reports about destruction of Su-24s, and these planes are ones that are modernized and actively used by Kiev regime to launch Storm Shadow, British Storm Shadow, and French Scalp cruise missiles. And there were some reports that MiG-29s also did undergo this modernization process, but well, without additional factual information, hard to say. When about Su-24, there are many reports that it's exactly those bombers that are actively used to launch cruise missiles. Well, let's check on some other news also. And TASS news agency did reported this afternoon, based on information from Al Jazeera TV channel, Qatari's TV station. And according to this report, Prime Minister of Israel did not rule out the possibility that a new agreement will be reached between Israeli side and Palestinian side on topic of hostages, on topic of hostages been released. And I did report in today's first update that Mossad's head of Mossad, Israeli Secret Service, was sent to Qatar by government of Israel to conduct negotiations exactly on this topic. So I guess it's highly likely that before New Year we may see at least temporary ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, which will be a huge relief, of course, first of all for peaceful residents of Gaza Strip, and also for relatives of hostile parties. Also for relatives of hostile parties on Israeli side or on side of Hamas. At least for several days there will be no active combat between the sides. Also, RIA Novosti reported that Israel did announce today that second border crossing will be opened for humanitarian aid for the Palestinians. This border crossing is Kerem Shalom, and trucks with the humanitarian aid will be directed towards this border crossing. Also, good news, undoubtedly good news, because civilians in Gaza Strip definitely are in need, and they definitely need as much support as world community can provide. And well, according to this is TASS News Agency's report, that according to Ministry of Health of Palestine, since the escalation between Israel and Palestine in Gaza Strip, as a result of Israeli military activity in the West Bank, 300 peaceful residents of the West Bank were killed since the beginning of hostilities, mainly in the Gaza Strip. But as I reported quite a few times in previous updates, Israeli forces were conducting operations in the West Bank also. And as a result of these actions, 300 civilians were killed. Among them, 111 kids and underage teenagers. 70 of them were killed or fatally wounded by receiving wounds from firearms. So tragedy, of course. Unfortunately, escalation is taking place all around. Basically, in Gaza Strip, in West Bank, northern Lebanon is under constant fire from Israel, and Israel itself is also under fire, and mainly civilians that are casualties of this military actions of the conflicting sides. Well, one may hope that somehow world community will manage to force Netanyahu's government to conduct peace negotiations and all the other parties to stop hostilities and give a chance for a peace. Let's hope so. And dear friends, I didn't open map, but of course all of you know that Gaza Strip is bordering Egypt, and the West Bank is bordering with Jordan, and on the north with Syria, with Golan Heights, if I'm not mistaken. And Golan Heights are occupied by, it's Syrian territory, but occupied by Israel for many decades now. So this is it when it comes to short summary of the some of the news that Russian media did report during the previous several hours. I did prepare tomorrow's update, at least partially. Of course, I will add additional news for tomorrow's main update, and these informations I will also share tomorrow, although with addition to dozen of other news. And well, this is it for this short summary. As I said, now let's go through chat. Dear friends. I will ask you, if you can, please, if you have a question, write capital Q before question, or entire question with capital letters, so that I would not miss any. I will see it a little easier. Let me check. 86 of us at this point on live stream. So thank you all for participating, and let's go through the chat. Sakartvelos Khelidarkiani is writing, "Hi Levan, I sent you email with the news topics I suggested and the poem in Georgian. Did you read it?" I did see mail. I did check several. I did see poem itself also, and I did see several links from X or Twitter. I did check 2 of them, and thank you very much for sharing information. But I did share now some news about Palestine that was reported from Russian media. I do pay attention to situation in Gaza Strip on daily basis during the updates. I cannot devote to single topic entire programs. Probably you can understand me. But I do share whenever some major news is reported by Russian media, and my program is, my main update is about news that are reported in Russia, in Russian media, in Russian language pages. And they do pay attention to a situation in the Middle East, for sure. And I do also. Hello to everyone. Questions. Dear friends, Sakartvelos Khelidarkiani, I cannot read poems here. Sorry, but format of program is, a little bit different, isn't it? So I don't see questions really. Maria Palmer is asking who would trust Netanyahu at this point. Completely agree with you. I guess even some Western leaders are somewhat upset with Netanyahu, although because of the influence of certain forces that are backing Netanyahu. As we can see clearly, Western leaders, even if they disagree with the actions of Netanyahu and his government, they can do little. We all remember this story with Macron, isn't it? When he criticized the actions of IDF because of the heavy casualties among civilians, and it only took like a few days, isn't it? And then he called Herzog, president of Israel, and basically began to apologizing and explaining himself what he meant and how. And so that's a level of influence of forces that are backing actions of Netanyahu and his government. So maybe not that many people are trusting in Netanyahu, but they can't do really much also. Do you think Russia is not paying enough attention to the Middle East? Well, one may have such expression that Russia do not pay too much, enough attention to Middle East. It all depends on expectations and possibilities that are in Russian hands. In my understanding, Moscow does what it can in reality to positively influence situation and to push sides towards de-escalation. There were meetings between Russian leadership and representatives of Israel, representatives of Hamas. Russian president had a phone call with Netanyahu. Also, just during the recent trip of Russian president in Middle East, in United Arab Emirates and in Saudi Arabia, I'm quite sure topic of the escalation in Middle East was one of the major one, undoubtedly. Also, Russian president had a talk with the president of Iran. So Moscow does what it can, but it's not just about Moscow, isn't it? Unfortunately, it don't really depends solely on actions of one or another major capitals in this world, being Moscow or Beijing or New Delhi. It's much more complicated issue than that. So in my understanding, Moscow does what it can, but unfortunately it's not enough, and we should always keep in mind that Israel is nuclear state. Israel is nuclear state, and the best advice other countries can give to Middle Eastern states is to stay away from direct involvement in the confrontation, because if Israel feels threatened, if Israeli leadership, if Netanyahu and his government will feel threatened, they will use nukes and they will devastate entire Middle East. This is a possibility, and because of it, it's a very fine line how much pressure can be imposed on Netanyahu and his government, I guess. Because after all, it's a nuclear state, But I believe Moscow, Beijing, New Delhi are trying what they can to de-escalate. It's not enough, unfortunately. It's just not enough. Question, Americum is asking, why is Russian Air Force destroying the whole infrastructure of Odessa with a lot of caliber missiles, or a big strike package of 1,500 and 2,000 missiles? Why Russian Air Force destroying or not destroying? Because Russian Air Forces and Russian missile forces are not really destroying infrastructure in a large scale. You may got expression that yes, Russian side is massively shelling this civilian infrastructure or something like that, but it's not the case. Russian side is targeting dual-use infrastructure and military infrastructure. And if there is some infrastructure that is purely civilian, then Russian side is just not touching it. And some I do see in comment sections many times question that why Russian side are not basically decimating, taking out entire infrastructure of Kiev regime, why Moscow is too soft. But yet again, that was Moscow's approach from very beginning, to minimize casualties among civilians first of all, and of course among military personnel, and to minimize damage on the ground, to minimize damage on infrastructure, because after all these territories will be liberated, who's gonna rebuild it? Who's gonna pay for this infrastructure to be rebuilt? It's gonna be Russia, isn't it? And I believe at least from Kharkov region to Odessa region, entire southern, eastern and eastern parts of Ukraine, one way or another will become under Russian control and eventually part of Russia, like Zaporozhye and Kherson regions and Donbass regions are part of Russia now. So Russia always had this quite clear approach that destruction has to be minimal. So it may be seen from outside as a soft approach, but that's how Moscow is operating. It's people may get used to actions of NATO member states, like when US is beginning some operations, they are decimating everything and everybody on its path, isn't it? That's their approach. They don't care really that much. And operations in just name any operation that was conducted by US. Did Pentagon officials, did Washington officials, White House officials ever care about civilian casualties or destruction on infrastructure? No, they never. And unfortunately, millions of people, not hundreds of thousands, but millions of people died as a direct actions of Pentagon, US military, and actions of militaries of other NATO member states, not just in Iraq, but in Iraq, in Libya, in Syria, in Afghanistan, in Somalia, in other African nations. That's their approach, and maybe people get used to this idea that that's how superpowers should operate. I mean, they are going in and destroying everything and everybody, but this is not Russia's approach. Russia has very different strategy. So that's my answer. Optimistic Future is asking, how are visiting Americans perceived, treated in Russia? We would like to visit. Oh, you're not gonna experience any negative attitude whatsoever. Not US citizens, not citizens of any other country from the collective West. I mean, it's not even a question here in Russia. As I said, there are conflict between Western ruling class and Russia. And Western ruling class is fighting not just Russian government. They are trying to impose this illusion that they are against Putin, and his government. But in reality, take a look at the sanctions. Take a look at the sanctions. They are against Russia. They want Russia to be weak. They want Russia to be under their control. So they are fighting Russia, and Russia is forced to have to take some countermeasures against actions of Western ruling class. When it comes to relationships between the people, I mean, it don't really matter. You are from US, from Canada, from, I don't know, UK, Germany, France, Italy, Japan, or Australia, or New Zealand. I mean, you are welcome. And I highly doubt idiots are everywhere, isn't it? Idiots are everywhere. And if you are unlucky enough, you may, met some idiots somehow, somewhere. But in general, you're not going to experience any negative attitude whatsoever. It's not a thing here. There is no anti-American phobia in Russia, or anti-German phobia, or anti-France or anti-Spain phobia, or anti-Japan phobia. We don't have that kind of stuff here, because we do understand that it's Western ruling elites that are fighting against us, not the ordinary people who are not even asked, opinion of whom are not even asked by these ruling elites in the West, isn't it? So how are you going to be mad on people that done nothing against you? It's their government, isn't it? that never asks people about foreign policies. So none in particular is asking, will Odessa return to Russia? Thoughts 100%, 110%. There can be no question about it. From Kharkov to Odessa region, entire southern eastern part of Ukraine will return to Russia. 100%. Kharkov region, Dnipropetrovsk region, and Odessa region at least will return to Russia, together of course with the new regions. They will join new regions of Russia: Zaporozhye region, Kherson region, Donetsk People's Republic, and Lugansk People's Republic, and of course Crimea. But Crimea is part of Russia since 2014, isn't it? And when we say new regions, we don't really mean Crimea among them, because Crimea is a part of Russia for long, and used to be part of Russia until Khrushchev, Soviet bureaucrat, gifted to Kiev regime, to Ukraine, at that time Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. Crimea was a part of Russia, and Khrushchev never asked nobody in Crimea or in Russia, are you want to give this peninsula to Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic? No one was asked. They just made decision. You know, like Western ruling elites are not asking nobody now in the West about internal or foreign policies. That's how Soviet Union bureaucracy used to operate. And now you have in the West almost with differences of course, but approach is definitely the same. They just don't care about opinion of people. They do whatever they please to do. And well, I'm 100% sure, 110% that Odessa region will definitely come back to Russia. There can be no doubts about it. And as I said, Kharkov region also, the Dnipropetrovsk region also, and if you ask me, I will say it's highly likely, in my reading of big picture, that entire Ukraine, with the exception of western regions, will become directly or indirectly under Russian influence and control. And probably with time, after referendums and so on, after legal steps, will probably join Russian Federation. That's how it's gonna be. I will give it 99% for that. And western regions of Ukraine will become part of Poland, Hungary, Romania, and possibly Slovakia, if Slovakia and Hungary will resolve their issues between each other, which country has a claim on which territory on the in the western Ukraine. So I hope I did answer to question. Black Tie is asking, how can I send you a super sticker to support you? Thank you very much, dear friend, but on YouTube you cannot do it because my channel is not monetized on YouTube, and there is no super stickers and stuff like that. Maybe this live stream, as I said, gonna be last live stream of mine, last Sunday live stream. I will probably continue work on segment of interviews, which is also during the live stream, which I do during the live streams in weekdays, and maybe before end of this month we will have one more guest. Maybe I'm waiting for a answer from expert if we will have time to participate in the live stream. I hope he does, and I'm quite sure you're gonna be happy to see him on the live stream and to hear his opinion on major topics, not just in terms of politics and geopolitics, but also on military terms, because I'm talking about military expert, but let's see how will things go. I hope interview will take place. before end of this month. But when it comes to Sunday live streams, I mean, you can clearly see, dear friends, that I mean, Sunday live streams are not really that popular, isn't it? Among our members of our community, and therefore, you know, it does takes time. Simultaneously, it does takes time, and to make a live stream, it does take some energy. And if our community don't really wants this type of program, then what is the point to have a live stream, isn't it? On Sundays. So I will, you know, I had the idea to do live streams, Sunday live streams on Rumble. I will stop making Sunday live streams here on YouTube, but I will try to make live streams, Sunday live streams on Rumble. It will, hopefully it will help me to further develop channel on Rumble. Let's see questions. Z1 to it is asking, what do you think is the northern big offensive coming? Izum, etc. When it comes to Russian possible Russian winter offensive, it's hard to say, isn't it? Because, of course, the Russian general staff do not share information with us, classified information about their plans. But if we take a look on the situation on the battlefield, well, Ukrainian forces are too stretched, isn't it? All along the front line, especially on the, you know, especially weak Ukrainian forces are on the western sectors of the front. Although at this point probably it's hard to even define, I mean, where they are most weak, because southern sectors, if you take a look at what is going on in Zaporozhye sector of the front line or South Donetsk sector of the front line, take a look at Kherson region, I mean, what's happening there. Ukrainian forces are on the brink of collapse all along the front line, in my understanding. And once we will see beginning of the end of Ukrainian armed forces as a more or less capable entity, when we see mass surrenderings of Ukrainian armed forces, which can be interpreted as an indicator that armed forces of Ukraine are collapsing. At that point, we may see Russian large-scale offensive operations, not just in the northern sectors, like Kupiansk direction or Krasny Liman direction, and Izum is in that direction, but also in central regions and southern regions. So right now it's really difficult to say. It will be like a large-scale offensive on one or two sectors only, or it will be even larger operation all along the front line. And I would not be surprised if we will see large-scale Russian offensive operation all along the front line, from Kherson region up to Kupiansk direction, and also even in direction of Sumy and Chernigov. So, you know, but something big is definitely coming. Something big is definitely coming, because on daily basis we are receiving reports that more and more Ukrainian soldiers and officers are willing to lay down arms and surrender. They fed up, really. And I guess this is due to more information that Ukrainian soldiers, Ukrainian militaries are getting. And better they know what's going on, and better they understand that they have been sacrificed for geopolitical agenda of the Western ruling class, you know, more chances are that they will refuse to sacrifice themselves and their comrades for Zelensky or his associates or their Western masters, isn't it? A number of surrenderings are increasing, and once we will see that battalion scale units will begin surrender, that's approximately time when Russian large-scale offensive operation probably will be gone. That seems logical to me, although of course I cannot know for sure, because as I said, defense ministry are not sharing with me information, isn't it? Question. Garnet Morris is asking, how are the mothers and the families that have lost a son or daughter in a zone of special military operation being taken care of? I cannot say about the Ukrainian side. I do hear information that usually Kiev regime is counting their killed in action as a lost, so that they will pay no compensation to families of killed military personnel. But when it comes to Russian side, its compensations are very significant. Families are taking care of there are entire social programs to support families of not just military personnel who was killed in action or wounded, but for all participants in special military operation, all the veterans. And there are huge social programs to support families from all different areas of their life, including kids of, for example, kids of veterans of special military operation have quotas now, and they can significantly easily get a place in the universities. So they will receive easy chances to get higher education, which is a huge deal, isn't it? And also financial support. If a soldier have been killed in action, family will receive about 5 million rubles, if I'm not mistaken. And if a soldier receive injury, family will receive about 3 million rubles, if I'm not mistaken. So, and this is a quite of course, I mean, if someone is killed in action, no money can compensate pain, that's obvious. But when it comes to state support for families of veterans, participants in special military operations, state definitely does what it can to support families financially and every other in every other way. So you're not gonna see in Russia some meetings of family members of Russian soldiers and officers that are participating in special military operation, because they know state will be supportive of them, state will be next to them. They're not gonna be alone. That's for sure. So, for example, my relative was wounded in zone of special military operation. He did receive quite severe injury. He was in I'm not gonna say details of operation when he was injured, but they did give a good fight to their enemies. But he was wounded during this operation, and state financed his, of course, recovery, provide him with the job, and also he received financial assistance. And his kid went to university using this quota for veterans and you know, for kids of the veterans of special military operations. So I know for sure that state definitely does supports veterans and families of participants of special military operation. Question. Sorry, dear friends, if I'm too slow. I'm trying to find the questions and read it. Gary Kogan is asking, please explain why people address President Putin as Vladimir Vladimirovich. Is that his own name plus his father's name? Yes. Vladimir is his name. In Russia, we have 3 names. In the rest of the world, at least in the West, it's a first name and surname, isn't it? Same is in Georgia, for example. Although during the Soviet era, everyone had the 3 names, like middle name also. And middle name is name of your father. So my father is George. So Georgi was name of my father, and I am Georgievich. Levan Georgievich Kudadze. So Putin is Vladimir Vladimirovich because his father, he has a middle name of his father. It's in Russia, it's still practicing that type of 3 names, but in other Soviet republics like in Georgia, no. Since Soviet Union collapsed, there was only just first name and surname, and that was it. But here in Russia, yes, you can have 2 names, like first name and it's not mandatory, but it's just like tradition. I mean, and when you are talking to someone, you may address him like Vladimir Vladimirovich. That's a respectful way to communicate when you are mentioning first name and second name. So that's also some cultural moment. It's a more respectful way to address a person. I hope I did explain. I hope I did answer to the question. Will Russia help Palestine? Queen of Sheba practitioner is asking. Russia will help Palestinians as much as possible, and I'm quite sure Moscow already does what it can to help Palestinian civilians in every possible way, from humanitarian aid, and there was many reports about humanitarian aid that was sent to Egypt to be delivered to Palestinians, and in political terms also, Moscow is quite active to achieve the escalation. But yet again, dear friends, it's a very complicated issue, isn't it? And it's not depends only on decisions of Moscow or Beijing or New Delhi, or it's much more complicated than that. If it was up to Moscow, this conflict will end in very first day, or even never begun. But it's Jesus Aguilar is asking, can you share your experience of family experience of the post-Soviet Russia in the 90s? Well, in 90s I was living in Georgia. I was born in Georgian Soviet Socialist Republic in Soviet Union, and I can share with you experience in Georgia, but life in general was extremely difficult in 90s in Russia and in Georgia. In Georgia, probably much more difficult than in Russia. Although, just imagine, Soviet Union collapsed, economies were destroyed just about everywhere. Crime was unbelievable. In many areas, there were elements of in many republics of former Soviet Union, including in Georgia, there was civil war going on. It was in 90s when in Russia, for example, first Chechen war began. There was devastating conflicts in the Middle East. In Southern Caucasus region, Armenia and Azerbaijan also had military confrontations. So 90s, in general, in all former Soviet republics were very difficult, and people were on survival mode at that point. And that's why, dear friend, that's why, because people remember those 90s, people of my generation and older. That's why, for example, in Russia, vast majority of society is in support of Putin and his presidency and his government, because they can compare what was in 90s during the Yeltsin's presidency and how situation changed during the presidency of Putin. And I mean, you cannot even compare Russia now and Russia during the 90s. It's just like two different, very different worlds. You just cannot compare. And people do remember this, and they support current government, they support current line on stability and development, peaceful development. And I don't think it's gonna change anytime soon, because yet again, memories of 90s are still very fresh. I cannot explain how difficult time was in 90s in Georgia, but also in Russia, and just about in every other republic of former Soviet Union. And I mean, I will say Russia did manage to deal with all those issues probably better than any other republic in former Soviet Union, even in comparison to Baltic states. Baltic states did become part of EU, isn't it? But they are nowhere near to a level of development in Russia at this moment. Take a look at the Baltic states, man. I don't know exact numbers at this point, but I do know that significant number of young people, young generations, are out of Baltic states. Why? Because they see no future for themselves there. When Russia is exactly opposite. Russia is a kind of magnet and attracts people, not just from former Soviet republics, but worldwide, even from the West, dear friends. And I would not be surprised if just give it to 5-10 years, and if we will see huge waves of migration from the Western states to Russia. It has already begun, because many people do see Russia as a last stronghold for traditions, for culture, and so on in the Western world. And Russia, as a majority Christian country, of course, are seeing in the Western states, let's say, as a close to, you know, as a part of Western or part of Christian world, let's say this way. Although, of course, traditionally Russia is not just a Christian, but also a Muslim and also Buddhist state, because you may be surprised, but Kalmykia, for example, Kalmykia region of Russian Federation, is a majority Buddhist region. So Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity are traditional religions for Russia. That's how historically Russia developed. But when it comes to Western states, of course, they see Russia as a somewhat similar to the Western states, but same time different, because in Russia, if you are for traditions, if you are for protection of culture, you are doing good and you are respected for that. But in the Western states, many Western states, unfortunately, ideology have been changed so much so in last, I don't know, decade or so, that now if you are for traditions, you may be called fascist or something like that, which is crazy, isn't it? If you want to respect your own culture and culture of other people, you may be called, I don't know, fascist and ultra-right radical or something like that, which is truly crazy. That's how I see it, and that's how many people see it. I mean, it's your obligation to protect traditions and culture of your own and fellow citizens. That's how we see things. Questions. I guess this live stream is too long, isn't it, dear friends? I may have to end now. It's exactly the 60 minutes, exactly 1 hour at this point. I guess we had a good conversation, isn't it? I did try to answer to some questions. Hopefully you will find my answers interesting and entire live stream interesting. And if I may, I will end this live stream now. And well, maybe in 2024 I will have live streams like Sunday live streams or similar type of program like Q&A stuff again on YouTube, but for now this is our last live stream, last Sunday live stream, and I have to thank you all, dear friends, for participating today and during the previous live streams. You are the best, so thank you very much. Have a nice time. Whatever it is now in your area, morning, evening, afternoon or night, take care and see you